Is it discriminatory? Should charities be allowed to do this?
Well, firstly, I think Ngozi Fulani puts it much better than I could. She's the person who's experienced this, and I feel very sorry for her having gone through that. Do I feel sorry for someone who put her through that simply because she's an 83-year-old? No. If you've been around for 83 years, and if you've been at the heart of the royal household for 62 years, then you should certainly know better. As far as Ngozi's charity is concerned, do I think it's racist? Absolutely not. I wasn't aware of her. I wasn't aware of her charity before this row erupted.
Yeah,
but I've now educated myself. And what it seems to me is the case is that if you come from certain backgrounds, you might be less likely to go and get the support you need. And don't forget, we're talking about people who've been the victims of women who've been the victims of violence, women who've been the victims of sexual violence. If you come from a certain background, you may be less likely to go and get the support you need, and less special cultural sensitivities are catered for. And a second and important point, this is an important point, some black women and people of African or Caribbean heritage may be more reluctant to go forward to the authorities, to the police, because of tensions in relationships historically and contemporarily that we know of between the police and those communities. So what she seems to be doing, Ngozi Fulani, is helping extremely vulnerable women who otherwise might not get the help they need. So I think she's done a lot of good in the world.
Let's go to Belinda. Belinda Lucy, what do you think?
I would say it's dangerous territory to reject women from domestic violence charities based on how much melatonin they have in their skin, because of course you can be white and born in parts of Africa and brought up with the culture. You can be white and born in the Caribbean and have heritage, related to the Caribbean and still be white or mixed race. Are they excluded or included? I think when you're talking about the colour of skin, it's very divisive. And also you have to look at it another way. If I was to set up a charity in London for white women or women from English heritage, whatever that means these days, and it excluded any black women who believed they were just as English as I was, just based on the fact that, they didn't share the same heritage over hundreds of years. It's not right. We can't go on the basis of colour. I understand cultural reasons. There are great charities out there like Halo, which focus on women who suffer from forced marriages and from honorary crimes. This is a cultural thing, and by that very definition, people like me would be excluded. I can understand it for cultural, but not necessarily on how dark or light your skin colour is.
Narinda, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, so I think it's a very clever way of deflecting from what actually Ngozi went through. So now you're trying to flip it on its head and say, well, actually, her charity is racist. It's not racist. I'm Indian. There are about several Indian domestic violence charities, and they're focused on just Indian women. I've been involved in them because we have cultural differences. Belinda, it's got nothing to do with colour of skin. You've made it about colour of skin. It's about it's about your religion. It's about your culture. If I went to a white charity for domestic violence, I'm sure they'd help us. I'm sure the Saheli groups of the Indian domestic violence groups would help a woman who was white as well. They would direct them in the right place. But as for me, as an Indian woman, I would need, and it's vital that I only went to an Indian charity group because they understand my culture, they understand my religion, they understand all the other complicated things that come from that. So it's not racist. It's got nothing to do with skin colour, Belinda.
Okay.
You've made it about that.
Well, I'll let Belinda respond to that
race,
directly.
Not culture, so.
Okay, let's go to Suzanne Evans.
Hello. So I think that we've got two issues here, haven't we? We've got what happened with regards to Lady Hussey, which I think was absolutely dreadful. There's no way that woman, given the service that she's given to this country, should have been drummed out in the way she was. I think this is a case of somebody taking offence far too quickly when no offence was taken. And unfortunately, I think that's something we're seeing far too frequently in society. But in terms of whether charities should direct themselves towards a particular group of people, I have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. I founded a charity myself. It's called Lipedema UK. It's a patient health charity to do with the condition of lipedema, which almost exclusively affects women. So are we supposed to direct our efforts towards men as well? That would be really quite difficult. Now, the difference is, of course, is that if a man did come to us, and there are very extreme minority cases in where a man can have this condition, then of course we would point him in the right direction and help him. But I think the point is your charitable objectives. You have to have certain charitable objectives that have to be accepted by the Charity Commission. And presumably Sister Space have gone through all those checks and balances to enable them to do what they do. And, you know, it's very difficult to have a charity that is so broad that you encapsulate everybody and everything. And I certainly accept what some of your other commentators have already said about the need for cultural awareness in some circumstances. I remember years ago coming across the work of, for instance, Southall Black Sisters, who did a huge amount in this area for black and minority ethnic women in terms of domestic violence. And, you know, they do a great job.
Can I just
May I just say something? Why have you got huge sympathy for Lady Hussey?
Well, OK, well, I'll come to Matt first, then I'll come to you. But, Matt, you were shaking your head when Suzanne talked about what happened to Lady Hussey, saying she said it was terrible. Why are you shaking your head?
Yeah, I agree with quite a bit of what's been said by some of the contributors, but we've heard in the space of 5 minutes someone saying, well, setting up a charity for black people or people from African heritage backgrounds is somehow equivalent to setting up a charity exclusive for white people in a white majority country. We live in a white majority country. No, it's not irrelevant.
No,
racism is targeted in this country towards black people and Asian people, not against white people.
No, I'm going to have a say here.
That's the truth.
I'm going to have a say. No, I actually think that in this instance in particular, domestic violence is something that crosses barriers anyway. It doesn't matter whether you're white, green, pink, purple with blue spots. It's irrelevant. And I actually think that we need to start moving away from all this, so only black people, because I have to say that if it said just white people, that wouldn't be acceptable. Narinda, quickly, and then over to Belinda.
I don't know why you're saying this. They're not saying just black people. I'm sure sources that would direct them in the same place.
No, they are.
And if it was just white people, you know what? You're a majority. It doesn't matter.
No, it does.
Focus group charities are vital.
No. Belinda, come in on that, because Belinda doesn't agree.
I lived next to Lady Hussey for 3 years. We were very close neighbours. I got to know her and her
she's not racist
very
then.
well. It's really important we don't dehumanise and make monsters out of our elderly.
But you're making Eb Ngozi.
No, she's not. Let her finish.
Just speak? It doesn't. What I'm saying is I recognise an incredibly mild-mannered, very, very humble woman that only wanted to do good. She was one of the kindest people I've ever met. And to suddenly demonise her as some kind of monster because she got something slightly wrong, there are double
She got caught out. She got caught out finally.
Well, she didn't get caught out. That's not fair.
And you make mistakes.
She did get caught out.
No, she didn't. That's not fair. You are aware, Narinda, you are aware she's slightly hard of hearing. I mean, that's come out. Yeah, you are aware of that.
Doesn't matter.
Can I just come back in quickly?
Any excuses. She was racist and she was rude.
No, that's not an excuse.
I want to come back in on that and also what Suzanne said, because you've just asked me to do that, Nana. So hang on a second. I'm not someone who turns people into monsters, right? We've all made mistakes of different proportions in our lives. I've made mistakes. Nana's made mistakes. Everyone on the panel has made mistakes, right? I don't believe in witch hunts. I don't believe people should be put in a position where no one can forgive them. Absolutely not. But what we're talking about here is someone who has, well, I'm sure she's got all sorts of good about her, this person, but she's at the heart of the royal household. The royal household is there to serve the royal family. The royal family is there to serve us. If you go to the royal household, you do not expect to be asked questions such as, where do your people come from when you were born in Britain?
Well, it depends.
And for Suzanne to brush that under the carpet and say, we take offence too easily, that's just absurd to me.
It depends if you go there dressed as something from another planet.
Who are you, the fashion police, Nana? You're not allowed to dress how you like anymore.
I'm not talking about that. You will invite... Sorry, let me finish. You'll invite questions of that nature if you go dressed in tribal gear. Belinda.
No, you shouldn't do that.
Well, why not?
Because you're allowed to dress what you like in this country.
That question. There's nothing wrong with that. Belinda. I'll take Belinda and then I'll take Narinda.
Of my family being born and brought up in China, they only wore English dress. They didn't take on the Chinese dress. Would the Chinese be racist for asking where my grandmother, great-grandmother, etc. were originally from? Of course they wouldn't, but because we are white, there's this double standards where we're all suddenly monsters when we make mistakes, but other people aren't.
Well, maybe
I want to give the last word to Suzanne. Suzanne, you've got about 20 seconds. You can wrap this up for.
Well, I'm just appalled actually at the judgment that's being showed here. As Matthew said, we all make mistakes. None of us are fail-safe, and I think at the end of the day here we've got a woman who has been humiliated and by all accounts now is feeling desperately in despair and unhappy because she made a mistake. And we have another woman, I'm afraid, who I think, as you said, Nana, was dressed up in a way so as to invite comment and is now trying to make something of it. Well, she's got great PR for her charity, so well done her. I think she could be a little bit more humble about it.